first group of marchers, high school students that walked out of school around 9 a.m.
We should have started this movement a long time ago.
Get our liberty back, my people! We take our President Bush, my people!
The next group of marchers, the biggest group, had more than 10,000 people. Once the march ended, a rally began. Just as things were going well,
Ignore the ignorant. They have nothing to say.
Please get out of our space.
Remove yourself.
Everyone has a right to free speech, both the people who are inside the circle and the ones around us. So we're here to create that safe barrier.
things got much worse.
There wasn't him, man.
Back up!
At one point, police sprayed pepper spray.
Because they arrested my sister, and an officer punched me in the face because I was asking him what happened, and he punched me in the face right here.
There's nothing legally that prohibits an individual from burning a flag on public property, such as occurred today. What became illegal is when other people start to engage in violent acts to try to interfere with that individual.
Police tonight say 6 people were arrested, 3 of them juveniles. Heather?
Many demonstrations were kept peaceful, but in Tucson it took a dramatic turn. In Tucson alone, approximately 15,000 people hit the streets protesting the House bill that would make illegal immigrants into aggravated felons and demonstrating in support of what they call a just immigration policy reform. And while most kept control of themselves despite the heated nature of this debate, at the very end things started getting out of hand. News 4's David Marino begins tonight's team coverage you can count on. David.
For the most part, today's immigration march and rally was peaceful, but when a counter-protest group began burning Mexican flags, things got out of hand.
A couple of officers were injured, and several other individuals were then taken into custody.
Before the scuffle broke out, today's march and rally was moving along at a peaceful pace. More than 15,000 people took to the streets of Tucson. On the ground, peacekeepers wearing yellow bands around their arms try to prevent violence.
We're not going to confront provocateurs. We're just going to say, everybody just walk past, don't worry about this person. They'll deal with their own anger however they want.
Along the way, counter-protesters like this man stand on the sidelines.
I don't mind them coming here if they're legal. I have no problem. Help them all out if they're legal. But if they're illegal, no way, nothing, zero.
Eventually, these marchers make their way to Armory Park for a rally.
First time that I see so many Mexicans united and actually fighting and standing up for what they believe.
They have no business making foreign policy or immigration policy, and they have no business asking to be granted or demanding special rights, because they're not special.
Border Guardians, a counter-protest group, also staked out a spot at Armory Park. But before they burned the Mexican flag, they stomped on it, ripped it, punched holes in it, and pretended to bullfight with it. Then they set it on fire. These flames ignited a shout-off between the counter-protesters and the marchers. Police surrounded members of the Border Guardians group to protect them. As the rally was wrapping up, things took a chaotic turn.
And there was an individual who threw a bottle, in fact, at the individual burning the Mexican flag.
Officers move in to make an arrest, but tensions escalated when police arrest a second person.
The situation became more volatile when they got to the point of putting that young lady into custody and putting her in a patrol car. And several officers were attacked by members of the crowd.
At that point, officers say they had to use force. They tried to gain control of the crowd by using pepper spray.
One individual who actually jumped on an officer's back and began to assault him. People were pushed and people were pushed back, but basically because the officers had to gain some space to try to effect the arrest.
The aftermath of pepper spray. Even this 14-year-old girl who left school to take part in the protest that many say will forever change Tucson.
Tucson police tell us they arrested 6 people during today's march.
Taking another look at the scuffle, police officers say their reaction to the protest was appropriate, but some immigration activists disagree. Jenny Rose in the newsroom.
That's right, Guy. Tucson police say they had to act quickly when tensions between demonstrators on both sides of the issue sparked violence. Tempers flared as marchers demonstrating against immigration reform clashed with the group of people burning the Mexican flag. A woman threw water at the flag burners, touching off a wave of confrontation between civilians and police.
Because of the tensions that were starting to erupt at that time with the burning of the flag, we decided that at that point it was time to get that person into custody and get them out of there.
Tucson police say the flag burning was a constitutionally protected act of free speech, but legal observers attending the demonstration wonder why the city allowed the group to be at Armory Park in the first place.
Why was that permission given to them when, they could have done that across the street, down the block? Why was that allowed to happen in the park that we already obtained a permit for?
Thousands of people in Tucson, Phoenix, and across the country marched demanding immigration reform. Several demonstrations were bigger than organizers expected and peaceful for the most part. But police move in when another group ignites tensions. Thanks for joining us. Organizers call it a day of action.
Thousands of protesters want Washington to give illegal immigrants a path to become legal citizens. Tucson was one of nearly 100 cities where people took their message to the streets. Police estimate 16,000 people walked from the south side to Armory Park downtown. Organizers were expecting about 10,000. Many marchers wore white as a symbol of peace and carried American flags. Overall, police reported little trouble, but that was before another group tried to burn a Mexican flag. A scuffle broke out and 6 people were arrested. The same group did the same thing yesterday in front of the Mexican consulate. KLD News 13's Dan Maris begins our team coverage of today's marches.
Well, Chris, up until the flag burnings happened, the protest and march were peaceful as more than 10,000 strong showed their solidarity by fighting for the rights of illegal immigrants. Echoing the cry of Cesar Chavez, marchers chant "Si se puede," which means yes we can. Whether they can or not, what they want is a change in the current border policy. They also want legal citizenship to the estimated 11 million illegal immigrants already in the United States. As the marchers peacefully protested, another group, Border Guardians, held a protest of its own. While immigration reform supporters waved American flags, Border Guardians burned 2 Mexican flags. That angered some in the crowd. They tossed water bottles at the flag burners. Some say this is exactly the kind of violence Border Guardians was trying to entice by burning the flags. Roy Warden, the man who sparked the flame, says that's not the case at all.
We see the Mexican people as being exploited by their own government. We see the Mexican flag not as a symbol of culture, but as a symbol of government.